I'm gonna show you how to use this secret menu to improve the HDR settings in some games. This is Shadow of War, and I am exaggerating the problem so you can see it clearly on the video. The clouds are white, you cannot see any details. The game is trying to output 10,000 nits. So I'm exaggerating the problem here. You will see when I change this to 10,000 how the clouds are going to slowly recover all the details, and now this looks beautiful. Also, I am using black frame insertion on the game, so it is dimmer for the recording, so you can see this much better. So I have Horizon Zero Dawn, God of War, Shadow of War, Uncharted 4, and Legacy of Thieves. They are all trying to output 10,000 nits. This is the only way to get these games working without other tricks that are more difficult to do. So this is actually very easy. You just need to access the secret menu, change that mastering pick to the correct value, and use dynamic tone mapping off. That's the best option. You can use dynamic tone mapping on, but I don't like it. I don't like dynamic tone mapping on because I don't have control over dynamic tone mapping on. So at the beginning, dynamic tone mapping on is super bright, but then starts to dim a little bit. Then sometimes I feel like it is clipping the highlights. Not really, but it is. I don't like it. I never use dynamic tone mapping, never. I was using it for black frame insertion at the beginning, but then after I discovered how to get more brightness for black frame insertion, so yeah, I use HDIG with HDR. So yeah, I never use dynamic tone mapping, just don't like it. But it is an option. It's there for a reason, and there might be some native HDR games that with HDIG are too dim, so then dynamic tone mapping might be a solution. It's there for a reason. So let's talk about how you can figure this out. So God of War is trying to output 10,000 nits. How do I know that? It's very easy. I take a screenshot and I open that with this program. So this is God of War. Let me take this out of the way. You can see here 9,094 nits. Okay, and other screenshots you can see 10,000 nits. Just take a screenshot and open that with the HDR WCG image viewer app. So what if you are using a console? Take a screenshot on the console. It's so easy. Just Google how to do that. I don't know because I don't have a console. This is a PC. But just take a screenshot with the console and open the screenshot on your PC. As simple as that. I believe this only works on Windows 11 though. So that might be if your PC is Windows 10. I'm not sure. Let me know if you have this app working on Windows 10. I believe Windows 10 doesn't read. It has an issue with the metadata of HDR. It doesn't care about that. But let me know if you have this app working on Windows 10. But that's it. Just take a screenshot of your games, open it with this app, and you will see what the game is trying to do. Of course, if the game has sliders, that's all you need to do. Just set the in-game sliders and use HDIG. HDIG is the best option for gaming. So I want to show you this example here just to show you that it is very, very difficult to notice the difference, and that's why I needed to exaggerate it so I can show you that on the video. So for example, this picture is trying to do 1000 nits. Okay, so if I change it to 400 here, you can barely tell the difference. So I show you the picture, it looks perfect. Even in front of me right now, I cannot see any defects. It's very, very difficult to notice. I do know, of course, I look at the snow here, I cannot see the details, but you might change these settings on the game and you might think, man, I cannot see any difference. Is this even working? Yes, it is working. So if I change it to 1000, I can see the snow details here coming back, and it's very subtle, very subtle. Sometimes the difference are huge. You look at the clouds on Horizon Zero Dawn and the difference are just gigantic, but that's not the case every single time. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is so you don't think, you don't doubt that this is working. This is always going to work. Always going to work. That doesn't mean necessarily that's gonna be the best option. The best option is HDR if the game supports a system level calibration or it has sliders. But this is always going to work. So if you have a weird game trying to do 4000 nits, well, in that case, that's the default value, so it's just gonna work out of the box. Or 3000, something weird like Metro Exodus doing 2000 nits, 2100, something like that. This is the way to go. Of course, Metro Exodus has the black level race. You can fix that by lowering the black level or by using what Gaming Tech discover, like a command or something. Deep black, something you do to get that black level restore, and then you use tone mapping off and this mastering pick, for example, in 2000. And the reason why I prefer tone mapping off, let's talk about that, because that's always a comment from people. Hey, HDIG is too dark, and some people think that tone mapping off is the worst option, and it is not. It is the worst if you don't set this up correctly. So, what is the difference and why I don't like dynamic tone mapping? I mean, I like it as an option, absolutely. Actually, I use dynamic tone mapping a lot for black frame insertion before. I use a lot dynamic tone mapping, but you can see sometimes it's dimmer. For example, here you use dynamic tone mapping, it's dimmer. So it is not always brighter, especially with the right settings. It is not always brighter. So brighter doesn't mean better. But the reason why I don't like dynamic tone mapping is because I don't have control over it. So dynamic tone mapping does whatever it wants. So on a scene like this, it's dimmer, then you look at the clouds, it's brighter, then you go to an interior place and it's super bright. So there's no coherence. I don't like it. Dynamic tone mapping detects, okay, this is supposed to be dark. So yeah, so this is what's going on with dynamic tone mapping off, and I know. So you see now it's darker. So dynamic tone mapping on, now is brighter. So there's no coherence. With this, I know exactly what's happening. Let me show you actually. Let me show you what's happening with this. Look at this picture. Let's take a look at this picture from AVS forums. So this is an example, okay? This is not what the LG C1 is trying to do. This is just calibrated with examples. But let's take this picture as an illustration of what is going on. So let's say this is the 10,000 nits option. This is how it looks like. This is the 4,000 nits option, and this is the 1,000 nits option. So we have a TV that is able and it is capable of following that EOTF. So this is the reference. This is the accuracy of HDR, okay? And it is able to follow that until its peak brightness. That's HDIG, okay? But when we have the content that it keeps going up and up and up until 10,000 nits, like this game, the TV cannot follow that accurately. Why? Because it's going to stop at its maximum peak brightness. So what this tone mapping is doing is basically at some point, which can be 250 nits, for example, at some point the TV is no longer going to keep following that EOTF. It's going to start to roll off. So what roll off means is basically finding the equivalent values. So for example, the game, the content keeps going up and up and up. And at 10,000 nits, in this case, 10,000 nits is going to be this value here. So 10,000 nits is going to be this value. But then 9,000 nits is going to be like this value. Then 8,000 nits is going to be this value. So you see the pattern. It is going to find equivalent values. So your 10,000 nits on the content is 800 nits on the LG C1. Okay? So when we do, instead of 10,000 nits target, we do 4,000 nits, then this curve doesn't have to be so soft, so it can be more aggressive, it doesn't have to roll off that early, for example. So that's what's going on, that's what's happening. With dynamic tone mapping, there's no accuracy at all. At least with tone mapping off, you have accuracy from 0 until the roll off point. So all the shadow detail at least is accurate. And most of the content, most of the important information is on the lower end of the PQ. So the highlights are important and they are beautiful, but they are not as important. So I much rather have accurate shadow detail. So this is going to look on the shadows as reference, as it is supposed to look, as bright. You're going to get as much shadow detail as you're supposed to see than have dynamic tone mapping doing whatever it wants to do. That's why I never want to use dynamic tone mapping. And I was using it before, again. I was using that before for black film insertion, but I know now better. I can do this, turn off the HDR on the game, and then do the trick, the SDR HDR trick, which is basically using HGIG, lowering the black level to 46 and forcing limited on the TV. And I actually have an update on that trick for interpolation, for motion interpolation. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions, and yeah, take a screenshot of your games, bro. Learn to do this stuff. Learn to do this stuff so you have the power to know the settings, and then you can still watch my videos just to see my view, just to see if you have the same settings that I have or that I'm recommending, but you know how to do it. You're not watching my videos because you are not able to do it yourself. Okay, I want you to know. I want you to tell me, hey, I tested this. This is what I see, and if you have a better recommendation, that's the community that I want to build here. People who learn, people who know, and you can know more than me and tell me and teach me if you know better. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions.